we're just mainly going to go through CalHFA and GSFA. Those are like the major two players. Does anybody kind of understand like the hierarchy of down payment assistance in California? Because I know like the way that's advertised is next level. Take silence as a no again. So the main players are going to be the state level programs like CalHFA and GSFA. Anytime you step off of the state level, that's when you start getting into the real nichier stuff. You know, there's Essex, there's Chenoa, there's NHF, but those programs usually give you a higher interest rate with less assistance, and they make it a little harder to qualify for. But the two that you guys should really drill into your head is the CalHFA and GSFA. So before we start out, I never have VA down payment assistance. If you guys ever notice that, you rarely hear about it because VA has this 1% rule where if you charge a veteran 1%, then the fees that that veteran can pay are capped. And I've already tried it before. I learned the hard way. I had to do a free VA loan way back in the days with CalHFA. There's just no way to meet the VA requirements, right? So they're better off just using VA, trying to get the seller to cover most, if not all, of the closing costs. So these programs are mainly going to be either FHA or conventional financing. Let me see if I can get a little tighter here. Nope. Okay. So you got CalHFA in the blue and GSFA in the white. Whether you go FHA or conventional, there's still FHA and conventional programs. The only thing they put overlays on top of is your minimum FICO requirements and how high your debt to income can go up to, and if you have to be a first-time home buyer or not. Okay, that's it. The rest, we qualify them the same way as any conventional or FHA buyer out there. When you're looking at these here, CalHFA, it looks like they got a ton of programs. And what's funny is if you look at downpaymentassistance.com or one of those websites, they say, hey, you have 327 down payment assistance programs in your California area. Well, what they're saying is that, well, you have CalHFA My Home, conventional. You have CalHFA My Home, FHA. You have CalHFA Cal Plus conventional, CalHFA conventional, Cal Plus FHA, and so on and so forth. So they literally say, you know, you're qualified for 5 of these when it's the same program. It's a little misleading for your clients. But the main player with CalHFA is the My Home. So does anybody know what the minimum down payment is for conventional loans if you're a first time buyer? Somebody's got to know this here. Please God. 3%. Thank you, Latoria. So if you're going FHA, they're going to give you 3.5% assistance for the down payment. If you're going conventional, they're going to give you 3% with CalHFA My Home. Okay. This is where when you guys see people advertising 100% financing, 0% down, this is what they mean because you got to put down 3% so they technically give it to you. But it's not covering all your closing costs and it's not even covering the full down payment. So what happens with down payment assistance, and this goes for every lender out there. Let's say you're buying a home at 500,000, you're going FHA, so you're putting down 3.5%. CalHFA is going to give you 17,500. But every lender under the sun that's approved with CalHFA, GSFA, or any program, we're under contract, and they give it to the client as what we call raw rates, meaning if you're doing standard FHA financing as a lender, I make my money as a margin already baked into the rate given. So we're not charging points with the rate for my commission. When it's down payment assistance, those raw rates mean that the lender is under contract with each one at what their comp plan is. Our comp plan at my company is 1.5%. Some companies are 1.75%. Some are up to 2.25%, which is just absolutely ridiculous. There's no reason to even do these programs at that point. So what this means is that if we're at 500,000 and I have to charge 1.5%, Now we're taking $7,500 away from 17,500. So they're taking on 17,500, but they're really only blending out assistance of $10,000. The reason why I'm telling you guys this is when somebody comes to you with down payment assistance, you guys need to be confident on how you reply to them. Right. And what I want you guys to if you understand the inner workings, what I tell the clients all the time is this, same crap all day, every day. I know a bunch of you have heard it, but one, no money's free money. We all know that. Two, the Lord gives and the banks take. Three, you think everybody but the lunch lady has a down payment program niche to them alone. And then four, you gotta let them know, like, down payment assistance is good for some. It's not good for all, because you're gonna have to pay the piper when you go to sell or refinance that home. And we all know we're in a higher rate market right now. So God willing, 24 to 36 months, rates will be lower and everybody's gonna want to refi. So now this person that took out that 17,500 from CalHFA, they have to roll that into their new loan. So when you're talking to your clients, if you understand the workings of today, where it solves your immediate problem, cash flow to buy the home, but you're going to miss out on 2/3 of the savings when you go to refinance. And when you explain it to clients in a certain way, they appreciate it a lot more. So now they know, hey, it's not free, and we're now giving them options. Do you want to look into down payment assistance and repay this money later? Or do you want to maybe look into gift funds and or pulling out of money out of your 401k or whatnot?
I
And
have a
not
question.
everybody has that option. Yeah,
When do they pay the down payment assistance? When they refinance or?
it's due upon sale or refinance.
Oh, but
Yeah,
usually it's refinancing.
yeah, because you
Oh,
you got to be, because remember, sellers pay the agent commissions, right? So you got to, whether you took down payment assistance or not, you got to be in that home for at least 3 to 5 years just to maybe break even when you sell the home,
yes.
right? So if everybody's buying today at 6.25, 6.5 on a rate or whatever that's going, and you go to refinance later, that's usually what people are doing and finding out. So you can help them understand, like, all right, I got an option. I'm either going to take it now or I'm going to take it later. Which do you want to do?
So when they refinance, the whole down payment assistance, like the whole amount is due?
Yep. As it sits right now, they used to allow you to resubordinate it, meaning just refinance the first, keep the second in place as a silent second with no pain, no mortgage payments on it monthly. So if you go and refi, right, let's say in 2 years and your payoff's 500 grand, usually it's about $5,000 for closing costs, right? And then you got to roll in the 17,500. So now your loan just went up 22,500, give or take. So even though your rate's coming down substantially, you may only save like 150 bucks a month, versus
Be-
if you bought that home without down payment assistance, saving 300 to 400 bucks a month.
So would you say the only time to recommend down payment assistance if maybe like down the road they're gonna get it like paid more or get a better job or something? When is
Now,
a good time to recommend down payment assistance?
you always recommend it, right? You can say, hey, these are your options, because we're not here to make the decision for them. We're here to educate them, right? So
Okay.
if you and I can clearly explain, here's option A, here's option B, and here's option C. Here's the good, bad, and the ugly. Here's the benefits using it today, and here's what to expect down the line when rates drop, right? If you can eloquently explain it to them where they understand, you just got to give them the option.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's why I think, a lot of us were, if you have trouble explaining down payment assistance, let me know and I'm happy to work with you one-on-one a little bit, just to do those 4 or 5 bullet points. But if you understand just the high level of this, they're gonna appreciate you a lot more, because then you can explain to them, hey, no money's free money, even because they're getting bombarded with, oh, this is all free money, and everybody but the lunch lady has a program. And I had a bunch of clients when the rates were low and they were telling me, oh, hey, Ryan, I bought the home with the nurse program or the police officer program. And I'm like, what the shit is that? Because there is no such thing. But they got sold that ball of wax where, oh, I'm a nurse and this lender's giving me a nurse program. But I pulled the deed of trust and it's either CalHFA or GSFA. And now they're devastated to find out if you want to refi, we got to roll all that money into the new loan. So it's good to kind of explain and unpack it for them up front, which again, you guys just need to stay super high level and we can figure out the rest. So let me admit Kristen back in. Okay, so with that said, um, you know, conventional 3% down, FHA 3.5% down. The My Home is your standard run-of-the-mill down payment assistance that most people take. Most people aren't taking zip funds again or Cal Plus Access just yet, but the money that they give you, they put it on as a silent second, meaning that 17,500 is leaned against your property as a second, but you have no monthly mortgage payments, but it is accruing interest at 1% simple interest. Okay. And if I think for everybody that hasn't been here before, if you go to the agent portal, what we're looking at, if you guys want to come back to it, is this CalHFA versus GSFA matrix. And there's hyperlinks in it as well. So the interest rates on these programs are dictated by the actual program themselves. So today CalHFA is down a little bit, which is nice, 6.125 for the My Home. Okay. If we're looking at the Cal Plus Access program, they're going to have it under here at 7.25. So Cal Plus, the Access program, is a new program they came out with end of last year. Think of these two programs as being stacked on top of the My Home, because you can't do either one of these without the My Home program. So either way, if we're going FHA, they're still getting 3.5%. With the Cal Plus Access, you get an additional 2.5% in assistance. And that's recorded as a silent third loan. So if you look at their title after they close, they got their mortgage that they're paying on, they got their My Home as a silent second, and then they'll have the Cal Plus Access additional 2.5% assistance as a silent third, recorded against the property. So if you're gonna take more money, essentially, here's one thing you guys gotta burn into memory too, if you're ever talking to a client or a prospect. The more money you need and wanna take, the higher the rate's gonna be. That's just the way down payment assistance is. My Home is 6 1/8. This Cal Plus Access we're talking about, they get the 3.5 plus the 2.5. So now they're banging out 6% in assistance. It's going to be at the 7.25 right there. And that's going to be on top of the My Home, as we discussed. Total of 3 liens. It's a silent third. And again, it's repayable upon refinance or sale of the home. So
Ryan,
pretty
what
much the
would
same.
you, sorry, what would you say? So if someone is asking about down payment assistance and you want to just throw out a hypothetical, so as we're sharing, okay, just know that down payment assistance is going to cost more. So if FHA is 6.25, expect down payment assistance to be, is it 1% higher than that? 1.25 higher than that? Just like a ballpark.
Honestly, they've been running pretty much neck and neck. I think today, like FHA rates are 6.25.
Mm-hmm.
And the My Home today is 6 1/8. So
Okay.
it could be, I would tell them plus or minus 0.25% in rate. It just depends
Okay.
upon where these rates are sitting. If we look at GSFA rates, the platinum for you to get 3.5% is also at 6 1/8.
Okay.
But just like CalHFA, you know, GSFA, the higher the rate, the more the assistance. But yeah, that's a good question. But it's tough. It used to be a little bit more expensive before rates went up. And then when rates were at their peak, down payment assistance was usually about 1/4 to 1/2% cheaper than the current market rates. And now we're kind of neck and neck with the rates coming down.
So at this
Little,
time, it sounds like, based on what's happening right now, it's not that much more costly for someone to get down payment assistance.
oh, you're exactly right.
Okay.
But now the question becomes, Mr. Soon-to-be buyer, do you want to pay the piper now, or do you want to pay the
Mhm.
piper later for that money?
Right.
Right? So, and that's mathematics we go into depth with each client. But you know, let me see here.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So any questions on the My Home or the Cal Plus Access? Pretty straightforward. You're getting My Home either way. That's 3.5% assistance. And then if you want to stack this on top, it's an additional 2.5 based on the rate there. The zip funds used to be huge. So a lot of times when rates were low, we would do the My Home. And then we would also do zip funds on top of it. Zip, all that means is zero interest program. So this would be a silent third at 0% interest rate. My Home is accruing at a simple 1%, so it's not as aggressive as like an actual amortization, but it's still accruing a little bit of interest. Zip funds, CalHFA gives you the option of either 2% or even 3%. Going back to that rate sheet, you see here, this one is the 2%, 7 1/8, and then their bonds are probably really trading pretty crappy on the back end. So you got to jump up, you know, 5/8 in rate just to get another 1% in assistance, which doesn't make much sense unless you absolutely have to. So right now, like if you're looking at these, I would say, all right, I'm getting 3.5% here. I can get a total of 6 at 7 1/4, or I can get a total of 5.5 at 7 1/8 in assistance. Oop. So pretty much same thing, recorded as a silent third, no monthly payment, due upon sale or refi. So as you go down the CalHFA, it's all pretty much the same below. It's just how much assistance you want to get and at what rate. But remember, the more you stack on, the more you got to repay when you go to refinance. All right, GSFA. So the major two differences between CalHFA and GSFA. GSFA, you do not have to be a first-time home buyer. You can even own a home, start renting it out, and go buy one with GSFA. They have what they call their standard and then their select program. And they'll give you up to 5% of the loan amount, not the sales price. So looking back at this here, you can go all the way up to 6 3/4 today and get 5%. The difference between the standard and the select is that the select will give you a portion of that money as a gift. So 3.5% plus 0.5% gift at 6.375. Where over here, you're getting the same assistance at 4%, but it's all repayable. The other major difference saying that's repayable is CalHFA, there's no monthly payment. GSFA, it's repaid as a 15-year fixed second. So that could mean another 150 to 275 bucks a month, depending upon the price point. CalHFA has income limits. GSFA does not when it's FHA, but conventional they do. So pretty much CalHFA, you get the money, no payment, but you do have to be a first-time buyer. GSFA, you get the money, you have a payment, but you do not have to be a first-time home buyer. Pretty much the same thing. All funds are repaid at sale or refinance. But if you do decide the select program, that's for anybody in education, first responders, police, firefighters, nurses, EMTs, they'll give you that option to do the select if you want to take a little bit higher rate and get that money as gift forgiven day one, is essentially what that means. So when people say I did the nurse program and I pull their deed of trust and it's GSFA, then I can only assume that they did it because they're one of the first responders and you can get a gift from that. That is the only time there's free money in these programs. Any questions on CalHFA versus GSFA, or pretty straightforward?
Pretty straightforward.
Thank you, Latoria. Okay, so the daily rates, if you guys go download this, it'll hyperlink you to it. You can check the rates there. So when it comes to minimum FICO scores, kind of like I said in the beginning, FHA and conventional financing, the same type of program, but they do dictate the FICO scores based on the DTI. So CalHFA, a minimum of 640. If you're over 700, the only benefit is they'll let your total debt to income go up to 50% versus 45 if you're between 640 and 699. GSFA is kind of the same, but they're a little bit more lenient. 640 just to use it, and that's all borrowers on the loan have to have a middle score of 640. You can go up to 45% debt to income. If you're over 680, they'll give you a little more purchasing power. So this one, you need a 700 to have up to 50% debt to income. GSFA is only 680. Both of them cap you out on manufactured homes. You have to have at least a 660, and you're still capped at 45% debt to income. One of the big benefits of GSFA is they'll let you do 2 to 4 units. 640 is the minimum FICO. 680 will also get you up to 50%. CalHFA will not do anything over a single family condo or a manufactured home. They just won't. So again, minimum FICO scores are the same. First time home buyers, CalHFA, yes, you have to be. GSFA, no, you don't have to be. Another big benefit of GSFA, they do not allow non-occupying cosigners. So if mom and dad want to cosign for me and my wife to qualify, I cannot use CalHFA. GSFA, yes, you can, which is super lenient. Let's see here, income limits. I'm sure you guys have all heard of them. There's a hyperlink to it out in Riverside, San Bernardino County. It's up to 205,000 with CalHFA. With GSFA for FHA, there are no income limits, but there is with conventional financing with GSFA. Loan limits, they follow FHA guidelines, so you got to do the FHA county loan limits. They do have to take a home buyer course. I wouldn't worry about that up front. We have them knock it out when the loan's approved pretty easy. I don't even think you need to be sober to pass it. It's pretty simple. Temporary buy downs, like 2 1s, 1 1s, they allow it on CalHFA. They do not allow it on GSFA. CalHFA does require the buyer gets a home warranty of 1 year to cover all the major appliances. So does GSFA. You guys all know the FHA appraisal rule. If there's an FHA appraisal done on that property, it stays with the property for 6 months. So if you're the second person to offer on a property, the first buyer fell out and they were FHA because the appraisal came in low, you still have to use that original FHA appraisal. They follow that as well. Same normal, there's nothing different when it comes to the appraisal requirements for the bare minimums. Same thing with structural. They really don't get into the weeds. It's normal FHA guidelines. Just like other FHA guidelines, max contribution is 6%. Gift funds, they follow Fannie, Freddie, and HUD guidelines. So 100% can be actual gift funds. And essentially, if you're gonna have a first-time home buyer or a non-first-time buyer using down payment assistance, even if they're using one of these programs, you need to let them know your estimated out of pocket is usually still anywhere between 12 to 15 grand if you can get seller paid assistance. So if you can get the seller to cover 10 or 12 grand with that program, because lenders have to charge, you're still going to be about, 12 to 13,000 out of pocket. So that's where it goes back to, 100% financing. That's a load of crap. That's just a sales tactic.
Mhm. That's so good. And just to clarify, both parties have to be first-time home buyers to qualify.
Thank you. Yes, if you're going CalHFA, they both have to be first-time home buyers.
I get that a lot.
Yep. And you can have somebody like, what's come up a couple times recently is, oh, well, I co-signed for my mom or my dad, on their home, but I don't live there. So CalHFA will actually allow you to be on title in that situation, but you have to prove, being that the first time home buyer definition is you haven't owned a home for the last 3 years, is you have to prove 3 years of rental payments on where that person's currently renting, even though they co-sign a mom and dad's home. So you
Oh,
can
that's
still
good
get
to know.
around it. Yeah, you just
Oh,
gotta
didn't know that.
document.
So you can be on title as long as you can document that you've been paying rent somewhere else for 3 years.
Correct. It can't, but that home can't solely be under your name. You know what I mean? Like,
Got
you
it.
can't
Okay.
own that and rented it out. You have to have co-signed for somebody.
Okay.
You
Okay.
just gotta, it's gotta make sense that you're a first time buyer, for that 3 year rule.
Hmm.
But that's pretty much it. I don't think we need the whole hour on it today. And that is up there in the agent portal if you guys want to download it, review it. And if you have any questions on it later, just hit me up anytime.